Larry Lee with Brownfield Ag News, and Paul Mitchell from the University of Wisconsin joins us. A couple of things we can talk about. First of all, there's a relatively new law requiring paid sick leave, including farm employees. A lot of farmers may not even know about this, Paul.
That's correct. It's the Families First Coronavirus Recovery Act, and it passed in March, and it was just a time when things were busy. It was effective April 1st right away, and had until April 17th, and there's just so much going on that I'm guessing a lot of people aren't aware of it. It's a new law as part of the whole coronavirus response, and it requires all employers, people that have W-2 employees, to provide up to 80 hours of sick leave for employees affected directly by the COVID virus. So if you get someone who gets sick, you got, by this new law, you have to require them 80 hours of paid leave at their full rate. And so it's meant to keep people that are sick from coming to work, so it doesn't spread the virus. And that was passed early on.
Now, it has some good intentions, but also has some expenses to go with that.
Yeah, and they were aware of that. And again, they know a lot of these, it's meant for small businesses particularly. And so they have a way to pay for it through payroll tax credits. So like, let's say you had paid the employee $1,000 in this sick leave, just to make a nice round number. You can reduce your payroll taxes when you file your quarterly taxes by $1,000. And so it's meant to balance out that way, so you don't have to be out the money directly. It can even get a loan if you want. They say if you don't have enough payroll taxes to go in, you can, if they have $1,000, you only pay in $800, you can apply for a loan from the IRS. But I don't think most people will be doing that. It sounds slow and complicated. Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like the important part here is you get a chance to retain those employees, and if they're sick, keep them off the farm site, off the business site, and in the end, it'll come out as a wash.
Yeah, that's the intention, to facilitate people that are ill, sick, staying home. There is potential to file for an exemption, but I don't think that'll work for most employees, because it's only for the people staying home for a few of to take care of children that are, like, because their school or daycare is closed. And it's really the medical stuff where you have the employee sick or is under recommended quarantine by state rules or by a doctor's advice or waiting for the test results or has the symptoms. You can't be exempted from that. You're going to be paying those. So I would work with your tax accountant to make sure you get your credits if you have an employee that requests this COVID leave.
Sounds like if the farmers or any other business operators have any questions about this, they should talk to that tax person.
Yeah, that's who will work through the details of withholding using the tax credit, withholding the payments. And to clarify, it's only if you have W-2 employees. If you're paying someone that they get a 1099, a subcontractor type person, it doesn't apply to those people, those employees or workers.
Topics, CFAP came out with the direct payments announcement yesterday. A lot of people are happy with it. A lot are saying it's not going to be enough. Still some mystery as to what's covered. I understand that there are certain crops, certain commodities that are really not covered by the CFAP direct payments.
Yeah, I've been focusing on the crop side, particularly the commodity crops. And for Wisconsin, it's corn, soybean, and wheat, corn, soybean, and oats are the big ones. There are some payments for a few other crops, and I created a little fact sheet that'll talk about them. But focusing on corn, soybean, and oats, it's going to be, it's so many cents per bushel. And I have to look them up here. 33.5 cents for corn, 47.5 cents for soybean, and 16 cents a bushel for oats. So if you have production, that there's a way to calculate that. I can quickly go over that, but that's how many cents per bushel they will pay you in a direct payment.
Is that a standard rate nationwide, or is that change varied by the state or region?
It's a nationwide number. Some of the one that's complicated is wheat, and so the traditional Wisconsin wheat isn't covered, but there are a few acres of like durum wheat and some of these other spring wheat. There's a certain kind of spring wheat that's covered, but that's the only one that kind of varies by region. But essentially, what you do is you take your production, half your 2019 crop production, or your inventory on January 15th of 2020, take whichever one of those is the smallest. That's your production that they use, and then you take that times that payment rate we talked about, the 33.5 cents or whatever. And then they only pay you 80% of that. That's the first payment. Then if there's money left over, they will pay the remaining 20% later. So you can just take your production times the price that we just talked about, 33.5, 47.5, 16 cents times the 80%. And that'll be your payment for each of those crops. There are a whole lot of crops listed, but those are the big ones for Wisconsin.
Sounds like there's a little bit of confusion about whether or not silage is covered, but wouldn't that fall under forage crops that are not covered?
Yeah, it explicitly says alfalfa and forage crops are not eligible for these payments. And the interpretation, I'm guessing, we haven't had full clarification yet, but corn silage will be considered a forage crop, and they won't be converting it to a grain equivalent or anything like that. But I'm expecting that, but it hasn't been clarified yet.
Anything you'd like to add on the CFAP payments?
Well, I would. There's all the specialty crops, and I haven't fully found out yet how they're doing. If like potatoes and dry onions and some of those are potentially payable. I've been doing a little work there. Have to find out yet. And then the dairy and livestock are big, obviously. And so those are Mark Stevenson will be dealing with the dairy, and Brenda Botel with the livestock, and that. So more information is coming.
So more to come from University of Wisconsin staff on how all this breaks down.
All right. Well, thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much. Paul Mitchell from University of Wisconsin joining us on Brownfield.